Well, cardinals from all over the world elected the Pope to lead the Catholic Church.
His Eminence, Timothy Cardinal Dolan, was there in the conclave. He's joining us live from Rome this morning. Your Eminence, how you feeling?
Rosanna and Kurt, I'm ecstatic. I'm a little tired and I'm homesick. So it's good to be with you. Thanks for the invitation. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So what happened? He wasn't even on the short list.
I'm still trying to figure it out. Well, first, thanks for reporting on the beautiful Mass today. It's a tradition that on the first morning after the election, to gather again at the Sistine Chapel where we made the decision. And we had a beautiful Mass. And he touched our hearts. He spoke very simply. He spoke very sincerely. He spoke to us personally. He spoke briefly. So he's already continuing the good teaching of Pope Francis, who always was yelling at us not to preach too long. So I'm glad he's continuing that tradition. But the days before, and really Rosanna and Kurt, so now I've been here over 2 weeks. And since I got here, we cardinals have been meeting seriously every day. Now, we didn't go into conclave until Wednesday night for the lockdown, but we were still meeting every day, getting to know one another, speaking about the challenges, the difficulties, the promises, the hopes of the church. And darn it, it paid off. Because when we went in there Wednesday afternoon, I think most people had a clean, clear idea about the candidate that they wanted. And it didn't take that long, did it? If you think here, you got 133 cardinals from all over the world. They told me there were 23 different language groups all over the world. And yet within 24 hours, we were able to make one of the most significant decisions we'll ever be called to make. I think that's a good sign.
Wow. Are you friendly with Pope Leo?
I wish I could tell you that he and I were on the same baseball team when we were in grade school. But no, I have to be very, Rosanna, and I have said this, Kurt, I really didn't know him. And when I got here, when you're talking to the other cardinal, I knew of him, and I knew he had a very prominent position here at the Holy See as prefect, as head of the dicastery, the department for bishops. So I never had to approach him about anything. Thank God. You usually only approach him when there's trouble going on. But I had heard excellent things about what a sensitive listener he was. After he had heard all the sides, he was able to make a pretty clear decision. He ran a good meeting. He was a good administrator. I had heard that. But when I got here in Rome, I would hear his name. And what's interesting is my brother cardinals, not from the United States, would come up to me and say, "What about Prevost?" And I said, "Well, what about him? Who is he?" Well, they said, "Don't you know him? He's an American cardinal." We really never considered him as a cardinal from the United States because he spent most of his life as a very effective missionary in Peru. I'm not afraid to say that. So when they asked me, I said, "I don't know the guy. I better get to know him because obviously people are talking about him." I had the pleasure, it was just by chance, of the morning of our second day, I had breakfast with him. That was all. You walked into the Doma Santa Marta for a lousy Italian breakfast. They make up for it at Pranzo, Rosanna, as you know.
That's good.
But so the hard bread and the lousy cup of coffee, and I sat next to him. So I got to know him. He ends up telling me he was in St. Louis, my hometown, for a while as an Augustinian priest. So, and even then I thought, this guy's the real thing. I like him. So here we go.
I think you headed towards something that may be different than what we've heard about the conclave or gotten used to. With modern technology and with cardinals getting together sooner rather than having to come from all over the world, you maybe have a candidate in mind when you get there because people know each other a little bit better than they did 100 years ago, 150 years ago. Do you think that had an impact when you got in the room and the voting started? Did he emerge as a candidate early on, or did he wind up being kind of more of a consensus guy?
Well, Kurt, to use the Catholic word bingo, you're onto something, all right? I think it was to his advantage that he wasn't talked about. I think it was to his advantage that he was a guy we didn't identify with any one trend or style within the College of Cardinals. I think it was to his advantage that they didn't really know he was from the United States. they didn't even know where he was from. He's sort of a citizen of the world, as we're a citizen of the world to come, not here. I think that was to his advantage, Kurt. So while you will understand, I can't talk about the details and the intricacies of the conclave itself. Let's just say that before we went in, I'm thinking that a lot of my brother cardinals shared my esteem for him simply because he seemed to have come from nowhere. Remember when they said about Jesus in the gospel after his first miracle and sermon, the people said, "Who's this guy? Where'd he come from? We kind of like him. We want to get to know him better." That seems to be what characterized Robert Francis Prevost, now Pope Leo.
So what do you think the message is with the election of him as the new pope?
There was a great headline today, Kurt and Rosanna. There was a great headline in the Corriere della Sella, which is kind of one of the premier newspapers in Italy. And it simply said, un papa calmo, a calm pope, a serene pope, a peaceful pope, a shy pope. We could say a lot of loving words about Pope Francis. I don't think we'd use the word shy, okay? But with him, everybody's sort of saying he seems kind of thoughtfully pensive. He seems to take things in, and I think that's what moved us. That's what moved us. You know what? We all share the same theology. We all share the same faith. But you kind of would look for a person who kind of inspires trust, confidence, a kind of guy that you'd say, I'd be grateful if he were in charge. I think that said it, Kurt.
All right. Before you go, between us, Your Eminence, did you vote for him?
Between us, Rosanna, none of your business.
Perfect answer.
Next time we're at the restaurant and have a couple too many grappas, maybe you can ask me again. Okay?
Oh, okay.
And Your Eminence, did you invite him to New York? Have you gotten a chance to invite him to New York?
I invited him to New York. I said, unless he went to Chicago first, don't bother. Okay?
When you get to come home?
So we were all waiting we all want to stay for the Mass. I mean, the minute he says in the Sistine Chapel, accepto, I accept. That's a very formula in Latin. After he's obviously won the voting, the cardinal who's in charge, who at the time was the Cardinal Secretary of State, he said, "Do you accept?" And the minute he said, accepto, I accept, he is the successor of Peter. There's a formality to go through the beautiful Mass of inauguration as the successor of Peter, which we all want to stay for, to give him support, to get support from him. That'll be a week from Sunday, so I'll be home on Monday, all right? Invite me in on Tuesday morning, okay, Rosanna?
You got it. We got it. We're going to talk to Joe. Safe travels, and give our best to Pope Leo.
You bet. You're on.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.